All right, so today we're diving into the headlines from some of India's biggest newspapers.
From January 9th, 2025, to be precise.
Right, exactly. It's always fascinating to see what's grabbing attention across the country.
You can really get a feel for what's important to people.
Absolutely, and today is no exception. We've got a mix of stories, some tragic, some hopeful.
Some political, some economic, really the whole spectrum.
Okay, well, let's jump right in. We'll start down south in Andhra Pradesh. Two big stories coming out of there, one tragic and the other, well, quite optimistic, you could say.
Yeah, definitely contrasting
For
headlines.
sure. So, first, there was a stampede at the Tirupati temple.
Oh, that's terrible. I hadn't heard about that.
Yeah, unfortunately, 6 people died, and there were a number of injuries.
That's so sad. Tirupati is such a major pilgrimage site. It draws huge crowds.
Exactly, and I think that's what makes this so tragic. People going for religious reasons, and then something like this happens.
Right, it really raises concerns about crowd safety at these sorts of large gatherings.
Absolutely. And on a completely different note, we have Prime Minister Modi in Visakhapatnam.
Ah, yes. Unveiling some major development projects, I believe.
He was worth a staggering euro 2 lakh crore.
Wow, that's quite an investment. Focus on infrastructure, I imagine.
It seems so, and likely a big boost to the local economy. Definitely a story to watch in terms of its impact on the region.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that develops.
Okay, moving on now, let's look at the political front. There was a headline about India's foreign secretary meeting with, well, this is interesting, a Taliban minister
Hmm, that is noteworthy. And where did this meeting take place?
in Dubai.
I see. First time since the Taliban took control of Afghanistan, right?
Correct. So, that's pretty major considering the geopolitical situation.
It is. India's trying to navigate a very sensitive situation in the region.
Absolutely. And this meeting, it could signal, a shift in their approach, or at least a willingness to engage.
Yeah, I think it's a careful balancing act. They want to maintain stability in the region,
And, of course, they have to consider their own relationship with Afghanistan.
which has, of course, changed quite drastically in recent years.
Exactly. So definitely a lot to unpack there. Then, on the domestic political scene, we have Arvind Kejriwal announcing that the TMC will support the AAP in the upcoming Delhi election.
Ah, yes, an interesting alliance. Could shake things up a bit.
That's what I was thinking. What do you make of this partnership?
Well, it could definitely influence the outcome of the election. It's a significant boost for the AAP, obviously.
And potentially a setback for the Congress Party.
Possibly, yes.
Yeah.
We'll have to wait and see how the dynamics play out, but it's certainly a development worth watching.
Agreed. Okay, let's shift gears a bit now. I want to touch on some social issues that were in the news. First, a rather concerning report about a 55% increase in child marriages in Tamil Nadu.
Oh, that's alarming. That's a significant jump.
It is, and it really highlights the complexities of this issue. Child marriage is often tied to poverty, lack of education, and deeply ingrained traditional beliefs.
Exactly. It's not an easy problem to solve. It requires addressing the root causes,
And, of course, enforcing the laws against it,
which can be a challenge in itself.
for sure. Then, in another headline, the Kerala High Court suspended the sentences of 4 individuals who were convicted in the murder of youth Congress workers.
Okay, that's a very different kind of case with some serious legal implications.
Absolutely. This decision, it brings up questions about the legal process, interpretations of the law.
And you can bet there will be public reactions to this as well. It's a sensitive case.
No doubt. Okay, let's wrap up with a couple of quick hits, one about a leadership change and the other about the economy. So first, Veena has been appointed as the new ISRO chairman.
Ah, yes, a key position for India's space program. What's his background?
Well, he comes with extensive experience in the field, so I think he's well equipped to lead ISRO.
But he's also taking the helm at a challenging time, with the global space race heating up.
True, there's a lot of competition out there.
So it'll be interesting to see how he navigates that.
All right. And lastly, an ICRA report predicts a potential fall in credit growth and a rise in provisions costs.
That's not the most optimistic economic news.
No, it isn't.
Right.
But could you break those terms down for our listeners? What does that actually mean?
Sure. So credit growth, that basically refers to how much money banks are lending out. It's a key indicator of economic activity.
Makes sense.
And then provisions costs, that's the money banks set aside to cover potential losses on loans.
Okay, so basically, if credit growth is slowing and provisions costs are rising, it could signal trouble for the financial sector.
And potentially for the wider economy as well. It's something to keep an eye on.
Definitely. Well, as you can see, it's been a pretty packed day in the news, covering a lot of ground.
Yeah, a real mix of events reflecting the complexities of India today.
I think that's a good point. It's easy to get caught up in individual headlines, but when you step back and look at the bigger picture,
You start to see how all these pieces fit together.
exactly. And it makes you think about the direction the country's headed in.
And the challenges and opportunities that lie ahead. Thinking about how these events might shape India's future on the global stage, that's something worth pondering, isn't it?
It really is. Food for thought. All right, that's all the time we have for today's deep dive. Thanks for listening.
It's been a pleasure.